I've always been a seeker. I've always been interested in knowing myself. I've always been quite fearless in where I put myself and seen myself as a great experiment. I think I was really raised in this culture that was about figuring out where your greatness was and not judging you for where that was, but just expecting that if you found it, you would rise to it. There was something about people believing in me intrinsically, where I didn't have to prove it. It was in me. And that carries me every day. I've had a lot of clarity around what I'm doing in this life, why I'm here, how I want to show up, who I can show up for.
So we ask everyone this at the start of our podcast. If I talk to the people closest to you, how would they describe you? What would they say are your biggest strengths, and what would they say is your biggest weakness?
Well, my sister once described me as a whirling dervish, which I think was like the most hilarious. First of all, like, it's a hilarious piece of language, right? Like, I feel like a whirling dervish, who even says that anymore? And I feel like there's something about...
Is that like Old British?
Yeah,
like, what even is that from?
It's very Old British. She went to University of St. Andrews, so she has this kind of maybe like some Britishisms, but so they would say I'm passionate. They would say I beat to my own drum.
Mm-hmm. And always have all these traits?
Always have.
Okay.
I've always been passionate. I've always done my own thing. I think they'd say I'm a great mom. That's become a huge part of my identity. And I think those are the three things they would say.
Okay. And what about weaknesses? What's like the one thing they would say you struggle with?
I would say, So the truth is, my family really focuses on strengths. And I think that's part of the family culture. And that's part of my work culture. And it's part of how I talk to founders. I really encourage people to focus on where you're exceptional and doubling down on that, as opposed to worrying about your weaknesses.
Totally.
So I would say my weaknesses are, I'm not a lone wolf, right? I'm a collaborator. Doing anything in isolation does not work for me. And I've learned that. And I think my family knows that. It's also how I move through the world. I do very little alone. And I think there's a cultural understanding of that as being, oh, you're afraid to be alone. You're not good at finishing things. You're not process oriented. Actually, I'm just someone who thrives in collaboration. I thrive in community. And so the way that I move through the world is both an acknowledgement of my weaknesses and this really natural way of hiring around them, or like moving through the world in a way that makes that less of a thing. So I'm a starter. I'm an Aries moon. Like, we like to get stuff. We like to get stuff started, right? I'm a Capricorn. I'm extremely hardworking. I'm a Virgo. Like, I love a spreadsheet. I like to get things done. But my gift is really in the beginning. My gift is in the strategy, not in the growth, long-term execution. That is best done in partnership. It's also why I do pre-seed.
Like, I was going to say, it's the perfect job for you.
Zero to product market fit, baby. Like, that's my stage. I love it. I think it's worth practicing and focusing on. And I have a lot of respect for growth investors and for folks who have a different archetype, but I'm very clear about like who I am, how I show up, why the era of investing that I'm in is right for me. And I think that's actually quite emblematic of the rest of my life.
Totally. And I love this concept too, that like you just know yourself so well that you're not going to force yourself to do growth stage investing. You're not going to force yourself to start a solo GP fund. Like, you have this real clarity of self, which is really awesome. What contributed to that? How did you get so clear on your strengths and your weaknesses? And I say that because I'm someone where early on I took the VIA character strengths test. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not.
It's like 24 globally accepted values. They're like judgment, humor, leadership, curiosity, creativity, zest for life. There's a bunch. And you take this test and it ranks them like 1 through 24. Mm-hmm. And human nature is to like look at your bottom 5 and be like, why am I so bad at those 5? Mm-hmm. But what you're supposed to do, and to your point, and it sounds like your family did this well, is you look at your top 5 mm-hmm. and you just double and triple down on those. And so from like an early age, I felt like I had almost like a list of like, you're good at this and you're not so good at that. Mm-hmm. What did you do to figure out the things that you're good at and maybe like sort of forget the things you're not so good at?
I think I've always been a seeker. I've always been interested in knowing myself. I've always been quite fearless in where I put myself and seen myself as a great experiment. And I think that that has taken me deeper and deeper into myself from a very young age. I would also say going to an all-girls school shaped me incredibly. I went to a phenomenal all-girls school that really created a culture of excellence that didn't prize athletic excellence over scientific excellence, over, the humanities. Everything was seen as, so the motto of my school was Surgere Tentamus, we strive to rise. And I think that is actually an incredible encapsulation of the culture. It was not about being the best in one dimension, but it was about being your best. And so I think I was really raised in this culture that was about figuring out where your greatness was and not judging you for where that was, but just expecting that if you found it, you would rise to it.
I love that.
It's very, very powerful. And I also think going to an all-girls school shaped me very deeply because I grew up mostly out of the male gaze. I really didn't have an awareness of what boys thought about me at all. I had a boyfriend, but they were boys were like playthings for the weekend, right? Like girls were the people who were doing the serious experiments, who were achieving. And if I look at my high school class, there were 67 girls, and they are astronauts. They're artists who are exhibiting at the Whitney. People have excelled in these really diverse ways. And so there's something about growing up in that context that I think continues to give me this real sense of self and excellence without judgment around how that excellence shows up.
It sounds like it's like the Barbie world,
It was.
To grow up in that.
Westridge School for Girls. Anyone who's got girls in LA, Westridge School for Girls. It was seriously an incredible, it shaped me. And I actually just got invited to sit in Gloria Steinem's living room and go to a salon in her living room. And the first thing I did...
6 months ago?
No, I just got invited.
Oh, recently?
So recently, actually it's airing in July. So I was recently invited to join a salon in Gloria Steinem's living room.
Wow.
And I actually messaged my high school history teacher because she did an independent study with me when I was in my senior year on feminist studies. And she chose to take her time to do this extra reading with me. And I messaged her and I was like, you'll never believe this. I'm going to go to meet Gloria Steinem and I'm going to sit with her and 20 women and we're going to talk about the world. And she was like, I believe it. Mm-hmm. And so there was something about people believing in me intrinsically, where I didn't have to prove it. It was in me. And that carries me every day. And it's what I'm trying to give to my son as well.
It's beautiful. I also think there's something really clear about uniqueness that I'm picking up. Like a lot of these other graduates in your class became astronauts and are, incredible artists. Those are not traditional career paths. I guess maybe when you're 5 years old, you think I want to be an astronaut, but it's when you get to high school, it's usually am I pre-med? Am I going to do business? Am I going to be a lawyer? Maybe an engineer? How did they cultivate this ability to understand your passions and then go for it? Because I think, our traditional schooling systems, you take a history class or you take a French class, and that's kind of the extent of diving deep into your passions. Is there something specific that they did other than that motto that made you guys all realize oh, wow, I'm really passionate about feminist studies. I'm really passionate about space. These are sort of quirky side things that you would not expect a school to help you uncover.
So I think that I'm not a specialist in education, and so I don't even understand all the things that they did. But one of the things I think about is in English class, in history class, we always sat in a circle. We sat in a circle because the mode was discussion. The mode was not what is the right answer. The mode is what is the right question, right? How do we go deeper into our own original thought? I remember in 9th grade, we learned to write a paragraph, and our homework would be to rewrite sentence after sentence after sentence, and there was great care and specificity with the depth of a given practice, and we did it together. And so there's something about that I think shaped the way that I think. I remember going to college. I went to a very good school and was just shocked that nobody could write. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you guys can't write. You can't write. And what I realized is what they were doing was teaching me how to think.
And that's the secret of it all. It's like when you go to law school, you're not learning how to be a lawyer, you're learning how to think.
Correct.
That's more of it than anything else. There's no like facts. It's just the process of doing it.
And I think what they were interested in was raising phenomenal women. That was the project. They weren't interested in helping people make a lot of money. They weren't interested in being excellent in just one way. They were about raising excellent women, whatever that meant, however that showed up. And I'm close with my sister, obviously. I keep mentioning my sister.
Yeah.
But one of my classmates is a nurse. And I was telling my sister about her. And she was like, this is the most Westridge nurse ever. Because she's not just a nurse. She became a nurse. And then she became a nurse that flies in helicopters in the backwoods to like rescue people. It's like that kind of thing of, I'm a nurse, but what's the edge of that profession? What's the deepest I can go into that and show up in this radical way, right? So I think about, her name's Jenny McAndrew, and I think about her, and it's like, that's so Jenny, right? So I'm very grateful for that, really, and I think about it all the time.
And how lucky to live such an authentic life, you know? Like, I think that's the greatest gift any education or any parent could give someone, is that you get to the end of your life and you've lived such an authentic life. You're not just the nurse, but you're the nurse that does the thing. Maybe you're the nurse that loves nature, so you find a way to be like the ultimate helper in the backwoods. Like that is the most probably gratifying feeling any human can have, because we're all searching for meaning, and we're all searching for meaning in a way that is like deeply authentic. And what a great gift that they gave you. I mean, that's very powerful.
I find it really interesting because a lot of people are like, oh, you're so good at like non-consensus investing. And what's interesting is I don't think about it that way. Like, I don't think about what's consensus, what's non-consensus. I really think about first principles. And I think that comes from that all-girls education. It comes from everything we're talking about. Like, I approach each company, I approach each person as its own potential entity, right? And I really, and I think for pre-seed especially, you can't invest in what's hot. Like, you can't. Like, what's hot today, what's hot is about the harvest, not about the planting, right? And with pre-seed, like, you're investing 10, 15 years ahead of the harvest. So if you're focused on what's hot in the harvest, what's hot in the discourse, you're behind. You're going to be paying too high of prices. So there's all kinds of reasons why being non-consensus is good at pre-seed. But I think thinking about yourself as non-consensus is not helpful. Thinking about the first principles is what gets you there. It's the same thing as writing the perfect sentence. Yeah. Like having the ability to honor the sentence and really going deep into that and saying, what's the original thought? Is that here, right? So that's kind of how I approach it investing and where I see that.
I love that
in my career.
I think also we've come to learn with a lot of examples that the best companies have really like N of one founders. You can't really put them in a box. Like, you know, maybe they're starting this really interesting healthcare business and they themselves were like a PA for 20 or 30 years. They know the space better than anyone. And, you know, there's not a lot of founders that are PAs potentially. I'm just giving a random example. Or the astronaut that wants to do the thing. Like, so much of investing is finding those people that are just so N of one, because those are often the ones who create the best companies. I don't know, there's a recent piece, which I can share with you if you haven't read it, Jaya at Foundation Capital wrote. And my favorite line from it is, I've been thinking about this piece 24/7, which is why I bring it up. Like, great institutions are a wrapper around a person. And it's like really stuck with me that like it sounds like your ability to really see like a full person and a person for all their different quirks and eccentricities is what makes you such a great investor. You know, you can see beyond that.
Interestingly, I actually really disagree with that.
Okay, tell me more.
I don't believe great institutions are a wrapper around a person.
Okay, tell me more.
I think great institutions are a wrapper around a set of values and ideals and beliefs that hopefully the people who are in that institution, those things are authentic to them. Right? If I think about what Baukunst is, it's not just me. It's me and Matt and Axel and Tyler, and it's our shared set of beliefs, values, truths, and that is what Baukunst is. And that means that Baukunst can live beyond me. If I want to retire in 20 years, Baukunst can live on, because a new partner who embodies those beliefs, those ideals, can come in and live in that. And that's actually how the great longitudinal firms are built. Sequoia was built around personalities, yes, but it stands for something else. And that means that new people can come in and embody that. And so I think that if you think about institutions that are really long-lasting, that reach back, that reach forward, they're about much more than one identity. The identity is just one instantiation of the greater belief. And then hopefully how that is practiced, how that is embodied, is passed down.
Totally. Big institutions, I mean, you can't physically have the same person running it forever, right? Because they will then retire and all of that. I think the thing I have seen the clearest is this idea that like it might start with one person, or in your case, a few people. The institution is the summation of the values and the quirks of the person or the multiple people. And that, like, you know, if you just try to copy and paste, like if you're trying to build your firm exactly like Sequoia did, might not be so successful because you are such different people and you have your own strengths. And so I think like the root of that line is more about exemplifying what the values and the quirks of each person are, and yes, putting it into an institution, but you can't copy and paste, you know, from someone else. And I think that's something you guys have done such a good job of, is really being authentically yourself. That's really special.
And I think, as you know well, today is, people are aware when something is not authentic.
Yeah.
Right. It's very easy to call that out, especially young people. Right. It's quite obvious when people are full of it. And so I think that there's been no better time to be rewarded for your own authenticity, right? And to share that. And I think it's really a miss, both personally and professionally, when you don't do that, because then I'm like, but where is all of you? What if all of you was here? Mm-hmm. What would that look like?
That's so awesome. And it traces back to that, you know, that high school, that school experience, because you can see all these people that have like been so authentically themselves, which is awesome. One thing I've learned talking to GPs on the show, and in my own experience as a GP, your back office is a signal. How fast you close deals, how clean the LP experience is, how your K1s land, investors notice all of it. The more buttoned up you are, the more likely they are to give you more money in the future. That's why I want to talk about Sydecar. Sydecar is the SPV platform built for fund managers who want institutional quality execution without hiring a full back office team. They'll review your deal within hours, handle full secondary transaction support, and give you transparent pricing up front. No platform carry. Also, your LP relationships stay private, which is super important. It is not a marketplace. If you're running a professional fund, your infrastructure should look like it. Sydecar makes that possible without the overhead. Check them out at sydecar.io/partner/trailblazers. I want to talk a little bit about how you discovered venture. So you're sitting here with me and you're telling me about your extremely creative lineage of women. You're sitting here in a really cool outfit, which like, I feel like if I saw you walking on the street and didn't know you, I would think you were like in fashion or something. But yeah, you're a venture capitalist. And I think a lot of people who don't know about our industry probably think that you would be like some like stuffy, sort of like financy type. Our industry does reward uniqueness at the earliest stages. So to me, it makes total sense. But I'd love to hear how you found this industry and how you've made it your own. Like, I feel that you are so authentically you as a VC. And I'd love for you to share with everyone how you first discovered it.
Completely by accident. I knew nothing about what venture capital was. I knew I wanted to start something. I knew I was an entrepreneur at heart. That was very clear to me.
At what age?
My whole life. Like my whole life. Second grade, I was the person running the Oreo cookie milkshake ring, like, sending my first grade employees around the neighborhood. That it's just who I am, right? It's just who I am. And when I was in college, I started a vegan cupcake business. I wasn't even vegan. I was just like, seems like there's a lot of vegans who want to have parties.
I started a vegan baking company and I was a vegan.
Yeah, Same thing. I was like, I don't even know why. Like, I loved to start things and I loved to offer things to the community. I was like, these people need this. I like doing this. So I'm going to show up in that way. So it was always in me, and I was early to blogging. I was like blogging when I was in college. This is 2005, 2009. And then I was at Lululemon, and that was really interesting. I was not in the corporate office. I was like folding pants. I was like working at Lululemon, working as a hair salon receptionist. It was 2009, global financial crisis. There were no jobs. And I just needed to hustle. And I think at Lululemon, I kind of saw company culture, what that did, and I saw early experiments in social media marketing, right? We were hacking personal pages on Facebook and turning them into business pages. No one else was doing that. We'd started one of the first run clubs. I was at kind of the flagship where we did a lot of these experiments. So I did that for about a year, and then I moved to LA and started a consultancy helping companies, really executives, learn about what social media was, creating their strategy, and then I would hire my like underemployed, English major friends to run their accounts. So I kind of had this hustle, and I really loved getting inside the businesses. I loved working with the C-suite, and even as in my early 20s, I could do that. And I realized I was good at that, but I didn't want to tell other people what to put on Facebook for the rest of my life. So I actually decided to take a year off and volunteer. So I shut down all my consulting clients. I bought a pickup truck. I drove across the country, and I moved to a small town in North Carolina, which weirdly is how I got my first venture job. So I was volunteering at a Habitat for Humanity job site, building houses. And there were a bunch of volunteers who were kind of retired bankers from New York who wanted to start an accelerator program. And I had been thinking I have to go get my MBA. I want to start a company, or I want to start a business. I have to learn how to do that, even though I'd been doing it. But I was I have to learn how to do that. But it didn't make sense to me to go into all this debt, because I was but if I'm starting a business, why would I want to have debt? And so they mentioned, I'm starting an accelerator program. And I was what's that? And they said, we find people who want to start businesses, we give them money, and we help them start it. And I remember the world stopped. Wow. I was wait, you give them money? And then you help them start the company? And they were yeah. And I had never heard of this. I was still in this paradigm of I have to pay for knowledge. And so this investment paradigm of someone invests in someone and then helps them start the company, it was I don't know what that is, but I need to be part of that. And I was do you need anyone to help run it? And they were yeah, we need a program director. I was I'm your girl. So I was the program director for 2 years. I actually did my first 20 deals. The managing director wasn't focused on investing, so I got to
build a track record.
I got to build a track record.
Yeah.
And then one of those companies was a hardware biotech company that did very well, and they were based in San Francisco, and they invited me to come hang out in San Francisco. This was 2014. It was an extremely special time in San Francisco. I slept on the floor of their warehouse where they all lived, and I just knew immediately that that's where I needed to be. So I bought a U-Haul, moved to San Francisco, and just hustled to find my first venture job. And I did. I got hired by a small fund that had just done one accelerator, and they were raising their first pre-seed fund, $32 million fund, all focused on hardware and software. I knew nothing about hardware. And I convinced them to hire me, and I was there for 8 years. I went from associate to partner, invested in some wonderful people, wonderful companies, and then co-founded Baukunst. So it was really an accident where I found the place where all of me was welcome, and I got to unleash myself. And I think that was really about being in the right place with the right people. I mean, I was very lucky that the GPs that I was working with, and one of them is still my partner, they're my partner at Baukunst, phenomenal, experienced people who believed in me and my specialness and invited me to go deeper and deeper into myself and find my own way in the work. And it was really a culture of iconoclasts, and I'm grateful to this day. Some of the best years of my life. I worked 80 hours a week, and they were some of the best years of my life. So
it's always the best when you can get that combination of deeply fulfilling and also just putting out a lot of output.
Totally. Yeah. And that's where to me, I think that's where you're tapping into the universal energy that is unending. Yeah. Every time I did more, I got more energy. And so I think I was connected to the source. And so it wasn't draining me, it was propelling me.
Yeah. And that's when it's really powerful, because nothing stops you.
Nothing can stop you, right? And nobody can touch you, because you're in your own flow, right? And I think that so my partner Axel, who I've now been investing with for well over a decade, he had been in venture for a long time. He sold his first company out of MIT in the late 80s and became a VC. And, he's been extremely successful. He flies under the radar. He doesn't post online. No one knows who he is, which is what he prefers. But he didn't care what anybody thought about him. He had no interest. All he cares about is building great companies. And so he brings first principles thinking. He really did. I've never met anyone who cares less what anybody thinks about him.
It's refreshing.
It's amazing. And so to me, I just thought that was normal. Right? And again, it was kind of the all girls school where it was normal to be excellent in your own way. It was normal to, all of these things were normal. Growing up in that venture firm, it was normal to not care what anybody thought about you. It was normal to like be non-consensus, right? Not for the point of it, but just because you were looking at the underlying company in a real way. So it was a phenomenal culture and really the underpinnings of what we're doing now.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's so sweet that you can take that relationship with you into this next phase. I mean, that's everything, right? It's good people. That's all this business is about.
Yeah. And it's like, this gives you a sense of Axel. He's, first of all, hopefully he never listens to this, but like, he's so modest, but he's in his 50s. And there are not a lot of older men who would be equal partners with a woman that they hired when she was 26. Right? I mean, just think about that.
Even the ego of it all, too.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And like,
separate from the economics, just the ego.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. It's not about the money. He has plenty of money.
Yeah.
But not many people have the ability to put their ego aside.
Yeah.
And because all he cares about is the great outcome.
Yeah.
He wants to work with great people. He wants to enjoy the ride. And he wants to build great companies. And he believes that equal partnerships build great companies.
I mean, that's what we've seen time and time again, all the great firms. Yeah.
If you're building in public, sharing insights, or staying top of mind with your network, you need a newsletter. And if you have a newsletter, you need Beehiiv. You know how I always talk about writing essays that change the trajectory of my VC firm? Well, I publish all of them through Beehiiv. It's my absolute favorite platform because it serves as a blog, a newsletter, and a website all in one, so I don't have to republish or reformat across platforms. Beehiiv is the creator platform where newsletters actually grow. We're talking built-in referral programs, a recommendation network, and analytics that tell you what's working, not just vanity metrics. Plus, you can monetize from day one through their ad network, paid subscriptions, or boosts. No platform cut eating into your revenue as well. I can speak from my personal experience. I'm always getting pinged for new ad opportunities. Beehiiv has a range of customers from major publishers like Time Magazine, TechCrunch, and Newsweek to solo operators earning 7 figures from their inbox. It's the same platform that's built to scale with you. If you've been putting off starting your newsletter or outgrowing whatever you're on, now is the time. Go to beehiiv.com and use code Trailblazers30 for 30% off your first 3 months. So I have a confession. I used to be a compulsive note taker. Every meeting, I'd be half listening and half scribbling and still leaving with gaps on the next steps. But Granola completely changed that for me. It's an AI-powered notepad for meetings, and it's connected to every single call on my calendar. So before each one, it shows me a very well-researched brief with all the context I need to know. And then during the call, I'll jot down whatever stands out. Maybe it's a decision or a quick thought that I have, and then Granola handles the rest. It'll transcribe in the background and turn my rough notes into clean, structured takeaways the second we hang up. There's also no bots joining the calls, it just works in the background. I use Granola for several things. So as an example, if I finish a meeting with a potential investor in my fund, I'll ask Granola, what could I have done better to get my point across? If I'm meeting with the founder I like, I'll ask Granola to point out any major green flags or red flags I may not have already caught. For people with a lot of meetings and decisions that require endless context, Granola is a game changer. We're actually running Granola on today's episode, so you can read the full show notes at granola.ai/trailblazers, and new users get 3 months completely free. That's granola.ai/trailblazers.
So you land in San Francisco, you have this idea that you want to be in the game and you want a venture firm to hire you. And obviously Bolt ended up hiring you. How did you convince them to give you a job? I mean, I think there's a lot of people, and I'm sure you see this too, in your DMs saying, how do I break into venture? How do I convince people, hey, maybe I don't know anything about hardware either, but there's this hardware fund that I think could be interesting. How did you actually get your foot in the door? I'd love to hear more about that story.
So I did what was obvious to me, which was to get in the mix and start providing value.
And be in person, which I think is a lot of it too. You were like right there. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was at the heart of it. And remember, the company I invested in that brought me to San Francisco, they were a hardware company. So they knew all the key people. They were like, there was a fund at the time called Lemnos Labs. It was like the hot hardware fund. And they were like, oh, they do like a Friday afternoon, like pancake thing, you should go. And so I was there every Friday. I was there every Friday in the mix. I didn't have a job. And so this hardware company, they had an office in Soma, in like the worst part of Soma. And I just went and sat on the couch by the door every day. And literally there was this guy, Jeff, who was also sitting on the couch by the door because he didn't have a place to work. And I was like, hey, Jeff, like, what are you up to? And he was starting Tempo Automation, which later exited for $1 billion. Now he's building like a lights out circuit board factory, Nimble Precision, which is in our portfolio. I met Jeff sitting on that couch and I brought Bolt the deal, right? Like, actually, I can't remember if I brought Bolt the deal or not, but anyway, I knew Jeff. So like I got in the mix. And so when I was talking to them, I was like, oh yeah, like I met this person at the Lemnos happy hour. Like, you should meet them. Or like, oh, have you met Jeff? And I think they actually had already met Jeff, but like, oh,
she knows Jeff.
You know Jeff?
Yeah.
How do you know Jeff? And I'm like, of course I know Jeff, right? So I just got in the mix and I made it seem like, hey, I'm already doing this. I'm already in the ecosystem. I'm already sending you interesting founders. I'm already connected. And the truth is, like, I was, because every day all I was doing was trying to meet every single interesting person that I could. And luckily that was the network that I had dropped into. And also, like, I just want to do a plug for any of the like young people in San Francisco. Y'all need to go have some fun, okay? We weren't just like having coffee meetings. We were partying. We were partying together. We were throwing crazy raves with like weird pop-up pools that were going until 6 a.m. in the middle of this warehouse. We were like shooting off rockets in the desert. We were having fun, right? And like being in the mix and having fun, you connect with people. It's natural. It's organic. And like people have got to get out of this like coffee meeting death march. Like, go have a good time. Go do things that you're passionate about. And it doesn't need to be about networking. Like, have fun. And so I think I was also just living joyfully and connecting with people and being interested. And I like, I flew to Boston. I was like, I want to meet them in person. I mean, it took 3 months, right? It was like 3 months of kind of convincing them. And Axel wasn't sure, right? Axel, like my current partner, he was like, I don't know, she doesn't really have the background. She doesn't have an engineering degree. It
was a small fund to start.
Tiny
yeah, how are they paying for you? You know, it's a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a big deal. And they were based in Boston. I was going to be the first hire in San Francisco. But I think the thing that he saw was like how good I was at networking and community. And he was like, let's give it a try. And so, yeah, I think getting in the mix and providing value are kind of the two things that you can do. Don't ask for advice. I actually don't know that I would advise anyone to like start a newsletter or start a podcast, like maybe now, but I think for me, the thing that I did that really worked was in the beginning, I had no presence. I was not building. I knew a lot about social, but I was not doing that because my focus was fully on the work. And I was like doing deals, getting on boards, like just working to deliver value for the fund. And then only later, once I had a track record, once I was really running my own fund and needed to market it, then I started having more of a public presence. But for the first decade, I was just grinding it out, heads down. I did a lot of in-person community building, but I did nothing online. Yeah. And I think that's how I built like a really genuine tight network really. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but I think sometimes people see how maybe Harry Stebbings or, people have built these media platforms that have turned into funds. And I think that can work, right? That can definitely work. But I also think there's a lot to be said for just working your ass off on the core work, delivering, doing great deals. And I saw so many people, especially women, who were put on the panels and kind of put out front by the firms, and they got churned and burned. And they didn't get enough deals done. They were so focused on the public facing stuff that they weren't able to like deliver what they needed to deliver for the fund. And the truth is you got to do both. So
totally. That's the tricky part of our lives, is just juggling it all, I think the marketing stuff and the reputation stuff, even if it's not online, even if it's offline, like just going to the events, being in the mix, meeting the Jeffs of the world, like that is in some way, marketing yourself, building a reputation.
1,000%.
It's a personal brand, even if it's not online.
Yeah.
Like you were known as being someone that was quite connected in that sphere. Even if you weren't online, everyone that mattered in that universe knew who you were. That's a brand.
And that's the thing. A brand is not what you say about yourself. A brand is what people say about you, right? Like that's what a brand is. So like I can say what I want Baukunst's brand to be or what I want my brand to be, but that has nothing to do with it. My brand is what you think about me. Totally. My brand is what you think about Baukunst.
And by the way, it's both what you say here on the podcast, and then after we wrap, my experience with you in regular life. Totally. It's a combination. It's not just what's out there.
Was I on time?
Right. She was on time, everybody.
I am annoyingly punctual. I hate being late. I'm like always early.
I hear you.
So, But yeah, all of those things. Like, it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. Like, all of that. And I think especially in this business, which is very small, right?
Very tiny.
It's a very small business, and people talk, and I care how people show up. You know, if like you come to a dinner of mine and you're unkind to people, you're not coming back.
1,000%. Yeah. That's the good part and the hard part about this business, because it is so small.
The 2026 primaries are taking shape, and if you have a strong opinion about how they're going to go, Kalshi lets you actually trade on it. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the US, federally regulated and available in all 50 states. You're not betting against a house, you're trading against other people in a live market, taking yes or no positions on real-world events, elections, federal interest rates, economic data, you name it. Right now on Kalshi, you can trade on the California governor race, Senate outcomes, and a dozen other major political storylines as they develop. As the probability shifts, you can buy in or out of your position in real time. It's a completely new asset class, and honestly, one of the more interesting ways to have skin in the game on what you're already watching closely. Download the Kalshi app, that's Kalshi, and use code Trailblazers to get $10 when you trade $10. Or go to kalshi.com/r/trailblazers to accept this $20 offer. With Kalshi, you can trade on anything. 18 plus only, restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Okay, so a quick experiment. Think about the last long message you typed. Could be a Slack thread, a prompt into Claude, maybe it's a detailed email. It probably took you 10 minutes, maybe even 20 to get it right. Now imagine you just said it out loud instead. That is the whole pitch for Wispr Flow. Wispr Flow is voice to text that actually works in every app on every device. You speak naturally and it outputs clean, formatted text that's ready to send. No setup, no integrations, no fixing weird transcription errors. And it works across Gmail, Slack, Notion, Claude, iMessage, wherever you type. And unlike the built-in dictation on your phone, Wispr Flow removes all filler words, mid-sentence corrections, and jargon. What I personally love about it too is that it perfectly matches my style. So I often type in all lowercase letters, so it'll type like that. I also say things like LMK, which means let me know in shorthand, and it'll auto adjust it from let me know to LMK. Like many of you, I also do a lot of brain dumping into LLMs. So instead of typing it all out, I actually just speak my windy train of thought into Wispr Flow, which is infinitely faster than trying to get my fingers to keep up with the pace of my thoughts. If you do any serious writing or just send a lot of messages and emails, using Wispr Flow is a no-brainer. Get 1 whole month of Wispr Flow Pro completely free at ref.wisprflow.ai/trailblazers.
I posted a TikTok, and I guess I went to Instagram too, about how there's so few VCs on Instagram and TikTok. And you commented like, I love our little club, which I thought was really funny, because not only is the VC industry small, but like the ones who make the content, especially on platforms that are not Twitter, it's like insanely small. There's like less than 10 of us total. So we all know each other.
And then a lot of fakes.
A lot of fakes.
Yeah, a lot of people who aren't actually investing.
Correct. Or like also aren't really like in the mix, you know, maybe they've like a family office, which is great. But I want to talk to you a little bit about content and like this little club that we have of, let's call it like less than 10, probably like, let's say 5 to 6 people that, you know, are actually investing, writing checks, and are talking about investing, technology, companies are excited about. Why do you do it? What gave you the idea to do it? Talk to me about that. Because it's very different than how you started, you know? I mean, the beginning, like you said, that was not, you were very like off the grid working, but now you're very much public, have built a big profile for yourself. So I'd love to hear more.
Honestly, I started making content because I was pissed that I couldn't get press. Like I had worked so hard for over a decade to start this fund. We raised $100 million debut fund. I was so proud of this. And I was so proud of like the brand, the design, everything. Like we had this great track record, like, and I couldn't get anybody to write about it. I hired a PR firm for a year and got nothing out of it. And can I swear?
Yeah, swear.
I was like, fuck this noise. Like I am gonna platform myself. I was just like, I am done with this. I am done with the gatekeeping. I am done. And also like, who reads Forbes anyway? You know, like you can't like, no, everything's behind a paywall. You know, like I was like, this is so ridiculous. And coming up in the 2010s, I saw the dudes that rode the medium wave punched well above their weight in terms of fund size, in terms of deal flow. Like I saw that, that partnership between content and platform really propel a lot of those funds forward. And I was thinking, okay, where is that edge today? And I was like, it's short form video. Gen Z is originating search on TikTok and Instagram. And there's like nobody there really talking about investing, talking about VC. So I'm going to try. And so I started only on TikTok because I was like, I don't know anyone who's on TikTok. It's great. No one will see me. I can like just try. I'm like doing get readies with me in my son's bedroom. Like the early ones are so cringe, but I was just like, I have to try. No. I was like, I'm just going to try it. And I told myself I would do a 3-month experiment. So I really believe in like, you, and I knew you can't just do it a couple of times. Like I need to create a process. I need to do it for 3 months. And I started doing it and I found out a couple of things. One, I actually liked it. Like I found it was easy and kind of fun for me. I'm quite creative. And so I was like, it was not hard for me to think about ideas of things to talk about or things to do. I like to chat, right? Like I that's easy for me. And so I found that like this is kind of fun. And I mostly was letting go of any of the results. And I just decided to kind of keep going. And then I would say it was about a year in where it was just very clear that this was now delivering business results, right? And so then it was like, okay, we should really invest in this. And so I've doubled down. It's been 2 years now. And the last 3 investments that I've made, every single one of them found me on social. So they found me on social and they got a warm intro. It wasn't like a cold DM. One was a cold DM from like a founder that previously sold her company for $200 million. She DM'd me on TikTok. Hey, I sold my previous company for bootstrapped for $200 million. I'm thinking about starting my next thing. Like, do you want to talk? And I was like, yeah, I want to talk. I got on a plane. I flew down to LA, like took her for lunch, and it took about 9 months for her to decide she really wanted to do it. But yeah, we led the pre-seed. So, and with pre-seed, it's all about people. It's about getting there first, having their trust. And so now it's like a huge piece of our deal flow. In the early days, it wasn't. Like in the early days, what I was noticing, deal flow wasn't coming through that, but people were using it like a resume. They were looking at the content to understand, what do I think? And now, like I was at Cafe Chelsea just yesterday, and a woman who's like an incredibly impressive resume, like recognized me at Cafe Chelsea, and she was like, oh my God, are you Kate McAndrew? I've like watched all your content. And I was like, what? And she told me who she was. And I was like, this is a heavy hitter. I was like, oh my God. So it's in 2 years, it's gone from get readies with me in my son's bathroom that are like really, or like my son's bedroom. It's like very embarrassing. So in 2 years, it's gone from like very embarrassing get ready with me, like TikToks in my son's bedroom, to getting recognized at Cafe Chelsea by like a very heavy hitting woman. And so it's amazing how quickly that's happened, but I've enjoyed it. Like I've just had fun.
Yeah. And I think that's the secret too. If you are enjoying it, which is very evident in what you do in the content, you'll continue to do it and it'll compound. Like that's the craziest part. It's like you're only 2 years in. What happens in the next 2 years? How much more can it grow? How many more deals can you see? That's really exciting to think about.
Yeah, and I have no idea. And that's also okay, right? I love that it's not my business. Like I love that I'm a venture capitalist and my focus is doing great deals, providing returns for my LPs. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is by making content to help drive deal flow. I'm not a like content creator per se. I think I'm on the cusp of not being one. Like I'm not trying to monetize it. I'm not like, my business isn't to be a creator. My business is to be a VC who makes content. And I think that it's really important for me to stay in that game, but I'm already seeing like managers want to manage me, and I'm just like, wait, like I don't know, right? So I've gotten big enough now where there's this pull to, do I want to be this other thing? So in 2 years, I actually don't know how it's going to play out. I know that being a VC will always be the main thing that I'm doing, but 2 years from now, I have no idea. Like I have no idea where it's going to go, but I enjoy that. Like I don't need to know. And like I'm not someone who designs for the end. I'm someone who lives in the process. And so like I'm just enjoying the process and continuing to make like good decisions along the way, hopefully.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I'm sort of realizing that, it's not just the deal side. There's also, I got a DM from a potential LP for a big check. There's so many other, so maybe you speak on a stage and someone hears you that is starting a company. So there's a lot of these like roundabout wins that even aren't as direct as deal flow that can massively help the business. So there's a lot of wins there. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about starting Baukunst. So we sort of jumped to content, but I want to talk about that transition from like being at Bolt. You put in your 8+ years, you worked really hard at this firm, and then you decided to start this new one with a few friends, partners. Talk to me about why you did that and this really unique thesis about like tech and design. I think you don't really see the word design in many theses. So talk to me a little bit about that piece, about starting the firm and the thesis behind it.
Well, I think that Bolt had been very focused on hardware. It's called Bolt, okay? And the LPs really wanted it to be very narrowly focused on hardware. And there were kind of two pieces, like hardware, software, and pre-seed. And what I saw was I didn't believe that there were enough high quality pre-seed hardware companies to build a 35-ish company portfolio, and the durability of that, it was just too narrow in my opinion. And so I felt like we are either going to have to become full stack like a Root or an Eclipse and raise more money and do pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B in hardware vertical, or software for hardware, you can expand that way, or go broader and stay at pre-seed. And I was very clear that I personally wanted to go broader and stay at pre-seed. And I was already really pushing the edges of what was hardware. Like, is Bobby an infant formula company hardware?
There's a product.
Right? So I was
a factory.
Yeah, we did some great investments that are value drivers for the portfolio, but that weren't really on thesis. And so I knew that I wanted to start something. I knew that if I was going to be a GP, I wanted to be a GP of my own firm, and I wanted these LPs to bet on me. I wanted them to bet on my thesis, and I knew that I wanted to be pre-seed specific, and I wanted to be more generalist, like with areas of concentration or like a lens, like tech and design. But I just knew that was the fund that if I was going to put my name on it and own it and build it for 20 years, that's what it was going to be. And so that transition was pretty clear for me. And it was a time where it was like very hip to have female partners. We're not like in that era right now, but I was getting lots of DMs from all the big mega funds where I could have gone and made a ton of money. But like that was just never... It was just not me, right? Those were very easy to say no to, which is interesting because I was going through a divorce. I had just had a baby, and like I had no backup plan. So like I look back now, and like logically speaking, taking a cushy like multi-million-dollar salary would have been the quote unquote right thing to do. But I honestly didn't even think of it as an option. Yeah. Like I did it, like that was not in my consciousness. That was obviously a no. So it was really just this is what was going to happen.
Did you know that this firm was going to be started and you wanted to join it, or was it really like you had the idea? Let's go start something? We started it. Yeah. Like because it's so interesting. Like as a solo GP, it was very much like me being like, okay, I want to do this thing. I'll look for maybe other partners, but no, I've decided I want to go at it alone. Like, how does it originate? Do you have this idea and then you ping the people that you want to do it with you? Is it like a coffee chat between you and someone else and you're like, should we do this thing? Like, what's the origin?
There's no one else in the world I would start this firm with. No one. It's not like maybe this person. No. If you don't know, you don't know. And I say this as a divorced person. Same thing with marriage. If you think you know, but you're not sure, you don't know. Okay? I think same thing with GPs. There is no one else in the world I would build this firm with. If I wasn't building this firm with them, I'd be like running a dance nonprofit or something, right? Like, these are my people. And I know that because I worked with them, I invested with them, I saw them weather hard times, I saw them ride success, I saw them disagree with me, I saw them and love me anyway. And like, I truly love my partners. It is so deep. It is a familial type of respectful love. And it wasn't a recruiting process. It wasn't even a thought. It was just obvious. And we're also all extremely different. We spike in different ways, which means there's a lot of space for mutual respect around our varied excellence.
What's everyone's strengths like across the board? Who's the best at which thing?
So first of all, I would say everyone is a very strong general athlete. Like, we can all kind of do everything, but then we all have excellence in different dynamics. So operationally, we have a very clear division. Tyler and I run everything I call front of house, brand, marketing, the collective that we run all of that out of San Francisco. Matt and Axel run everything, finance, ops, back office, with our CFO in Boston. So operationally, we have a very clear split, right? And then functionally, when it comes to board management, again, we're all pretty strong general athletes, but there's probably 10 people in the world that are as good at product as Tyler. He was on the core team of the first iPhone. He, lived in China half the year, lived in the design studio at Apple half the year. By the time he was in his mid-20s, he was running a multi-billion-dollar product line of all of the iPods. So, Tyler is really, truly one of the great product minds of our generation. If I have a question about product, or if someone wants to dive into product, I'm pulling him in, right? I would say Axel is one of the most financially deep, strategic thinkers when it comes to how do you build enterprise value. He's seen $0 to $1 billion exits again and again and again. And so much of what it's about is the nuance of these really complex business design questions and company questions. And so if I'm at a crossroads and I'm like, okay, we're thinking about designing it this way or this way, he's got the 3 questions I haven't thought of to help us get to that answer. It's also great to be with someone who's been through so many M&As, who's exited public stock so many times. So like all of these firm management things that a lot of emerging manager haven't seen, he's done it dozens of times. But what I also love is he's willing to do it differently. So he's like, this is what my experience tells me. What do you think? What do you see? Right? So that willingness, that low ego, that willingness to be wrong, that willingness to do it a new way. But he just has this depth of experience and this joy of true, operating. He's built and sold 2 companies. Like that is where he is incredibly valuable. Even the nitty gritty stuff like reserves analysis,
that's back to the financial piece.
Yeah, that
he's good at the fund model.
He loves the reserves analysis. He's just like, I've been working on this spreadsheet, and I'm just like, Axel, bless you. Not that I can't do it, but he loves it. He has joy in it, right? Just like Tyler has joy in product. I would say Matt is probably the most like Axel. He's also Matt, I don't think he's ever not dotted an I or crossed a T in his life. And I think one thing that Axel says about Matt is the level of rigor that Matt brings to things is unparalleled. Tyler got him a hat once that says action items. And so, he's amazing. He's amazing as a board member. He doesn't let you squeak by with 80%. He is just so good. He also, this is random, but he's the only one of us that was ever a management consultant, and thank God, because we have to make a lot of slide desks. So
run those through him. Yeah.
He's a great board member, an independent thinker, all these things that we all are. But Matt is that. And I would say for me, I am strongest when it comes to creative go-to-market, marketing, branding. That's where I really thrive. I'm also very well networked. So when it comes time for fundraising, everyone's calling me and get the intros. And so that's where I spike. And again, we're all good general athletes, but we have these areas and markets, where we're experts, right? Axel is one of the leading engineering software investors and builders in the world. Tyler is one of the leading hardware people in the world. I do a lot of consumer. We all have these different areas of expertise. And we're willing to be wrong. So the deal flow conversations are really interesting because it's we're all kind of bringing these perspectives and these minds together to try and make the best decision as a firm. We have equal economics, we have equal decision-making, consensus decision-making. So we really do this as a team sport. And this is why I say there's no other team I would want to be on. These are my guys.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's so special that you feel that way. I was going to say, we got to grab this snippet of what you just said and throw it in your data room for your next fundraise, because that is the ultimate, this one's great at this one's great at that. This is the foursome that you should invest in. I feel that was the perfect advertisement for your next raise.
I hope so. Anyone watching?
We'll snip it up for you. I love it. And I'm so excited for you. What are you most excited to invest in over the next 5 to 10 years? Where are you spending your time? I know there's a splash of content, of course. But what are the investing themes you're excited about? And if there's founders listening to this that are building in these spaces, and that their ears perk up, tell them what you're excited about.
So over the next 10 years, who knows, right? The founders will
next year.
Yeah,
literally.
The founders will take me there. But the next year, so one area I'm spending a lot of time in, I talked about, I've been in hardware investing for 8 years. I'm very curious about the post-phone era. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know who's going to do it. I don't know what the form factors are going to be, but I'm spending a lot of time looking at kind of 2 areas of consumer hardware. One would be the kind of rise of analog. So think about tin can phone. phone. Think about like Yato or Tony's. And I think that's really the millennial parent buying for the child, where they're realizing the phone isn't good for the kids and I need alternatives. But I also think there's another piece of that that's more sovereign computing. So Gen Z being scared of AI, not wanting their data exposed to AI models, and wanting to have sovereign hardware. I think we had some early predicates in the crypto space, actually. If you look at like hardware wallets, like there was some interesting stuff happening there. I don't know that crypto's the use case, but there's something going on for me in these sovereign devices. And they could be toys or it could be finance. Like, I don't know, but there's something there for me. I'm also curious about kind of the AI wrapped in plastic. And my forecast is that will actually be owned by the core models, right? That it's going to be Anthropic and OpenAI, and, OpenAI bought IO, obviously, that are going to win there just because they can probably give the devices away for free and make the money other ways. And it's really hard for a startup to compete against that. But I do think if you have this like external software brain of your whole life, there's some really interesting like entry points. Like maybe it's not a home speaker, maybe it's a bag charm, right? Like I don't know what's going to happen there, but that's a place where I'm spending a lot of time. I'm trying to meet as many founders as possible to kind of get a sense for what they're thinking about it. And I think this will be a really interesting multi-generational product. I think it's probably going to be a Gen Z founder with a great idea and a cracked manufacturing team that's been doing this for 20 years. So that's one area I'm excited about. Another area where I think I have a pretty non-consensus opinion, I don't know if you agree, but right now, like every VC hates a creator business, but I think they're wrong. I think that we're early to the creator economy. I think VCs mostly think about the creator economy investments as like creator tools, link in bio, like accounting for creators. I don't think
like a drop shipping type thing.
Yeah, that's not it. But there's so much money flowing from brands into the hands of the creators because creators have distribution. Distribution is valuable. So the companies,
that's our whole thesis.
like the companies that figure out how to be the platform for or to somehow monetize the desire, people's desire, businesses' desire for distribution are going to win. Shopify, I think, is the earliest big winner.
They're crushing it.
Yeah, they're crushing it, but they're really focused on affiliate commerce, and that's a narrow set of the distribution world, right?
But they print money, so it gives them a lot of opportunity. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And so I don't think Shopify is going to be the last. I think it's going to be the first. And so that's a space where I'm actually actively making investments, and everybody hates them. VCs hate them. So the thing I have to figure out is like, who has the juice to build something big? Who is going to be able to fundraise for it? What are the big ideas? And so that's a space where I think I have an edge because I think I see it in a different way, much like you do, I'm sure, than other investors. And it's a pretty non-consensus opinion. So the valuations are low, which is nice.
Yeah, it's nice. But like to your point, it's this balance of like coming in low, but then making sure you're finding the founder that can sell the story so that one of the big dogs will like take a swing. Because that's like so much of our business is like you want to be non-consensus enough where it's like, you're going to make money at it. It's a low price and it's a really interesting idea that no one's talking about. But then you also need them to have a solid runway, long future ahead. And so I have a lot of thoughts on everything you just said. I think the first thing is I love your hardware and like product lens to a lot of our industry. I think people also don't make those investments enough. There's this like physical AI wave right now, but you sort of have this like consumer spin to it, which is like really refreshing.
Because most deep tech people are like, give me your circuit board. I want to be nerdy about it. They don't understand consumer. There's very few people that understand hardware and consumer.
And that's where I think, like you really shine because you like have the chops. A lot of people don't. It's just like novel. Like they bought their kid a tin can, but they don't really understand the economics behind it, which is really cool. And then this other thing I wanted to say was your comment about creator. Like everyone talks about lifestyle creators. They think of like the Alex Earls of the world, but there's these like knowledge creators. Like even like you and I, like we're not lifestyle creators. Like we're talking about our jobs, and our number one job is the job of making money for our LPs. And then the side thing is like, oh yeah, like here's a sneak at our life, So I think that there's something really interesting there about like how creators are evolving, and it's going from sort of being like really cute and talking about getting your matcha, which is, I love that, and that's great too, but also maybe a little bit more about like the work itself and creating being more of a secondary task versus the primary task.
Yeah, the wave I'm most interested is like multi-hyphenate knowledge creators. That's like the wave that I think is underserved right now, and I think they're going to bring on a vast amount of investment. If you think about the value of a makeup brand versus, let's say, financial services. Like, there are massive markets that are going to try to figure out how to advertise through creators. They're actively trying right now and they don't know how. That's an opportunity.
1,000%. And I feel like you and I are like living proof of that, because we probably get DMs.
They do DM me. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to make a post about your weird thing for 20 grand. Like, it's just weird. Like, and not because, I mean, sure, 20 grand is nice, but like, I have a job.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't my job. And
there has to be a better route. There has to be a better route.
Totally.
Amazing.
So here's a problem I hear constantly from operators. The data exists, the answers are somewhere in there, but getting to them, actually pulling a useful insight without bugging the data team or learning SQL takes way too long or just does not happen. Hex solves that. Hex is an AI analytics platform where anyone on your team can ask data questions in plain English and get real answers backed by your actual business context. No SQL required. And the best part is that Hex shows you exactly how its data agents think, so you can see where the logic comes from and trust the output. The more your team uses it, the smarter it gets. From seed stage founders running lean to larger orgs dealing with serious data complexity, Hex is built to scale with you. It's game-changing for people like me who want to understand what's going on under the hood, but we are not the data experts. It's funny too, because I feel like every time I look over my operator friends' shoulders, whether they're in product or marketing or ops, they often have a Hex dashboard pulled up. It's a great tool. Trailblazers listeners get an exclusive 30-day free trial at hex.ai/trailblazers.
Well, I could ask you a million more questions, but I want to get to our lightning round.
Okay, let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay, Trailblazer trade-offs is what we call it. Okay, so give me just the first answer that comes to mind. Okay. A book in hand or a podcast in ears?
Book in hand.
Any favorites? Besides A Goddess Guide to Branding? Shout out again.
I just picked up a fabulous poetry book and a poetry reading, and I can't remember the name of it, but I read a lot of poetry. I don't have a lot of time, but I love reading poetry on the page. I often have a poetry book with me. Can read it between things before bed. So I'm a big poetry reader.
I love it. I see, like, people would never guess the VCs read poetry, you know. They
should. More should read more poetry.
Read poetry.
Yeah.
I agree. Hire slow or fire fast?
Hire slow.
Okay.
I would say we have an incredible new member of our team. She was my intern for a year and a half. And I, in that year and a half, not only got to see her work ethic, the quality that she put out, but like how she meshed with the team, like her style. And we're a flow-based team. We're not like a, here's the calendar, here's the goals. Like, we're very much about going where the energy is. And she was able to move with the team in that way. And so by working with her in an intern capacity for a year and a half, we got the opportunity to really like know each other outside of the output, but in the process. And like, that matters a lot to me, especially in a small company, right? Adding one person is like a huge percent change. And so at least for us, I'm now a believer in hire slow.
Yeah. And even if it's not like a full-blown internship, like the people that can do like the weekends or the weeknights with you for a while just to test it out, it's always a good idea.
Well, literally, she would like come to my house. She was doing content for us, and she would come to my house and sit in my son's bedroom with me, or like go for a walk with me. And I felt like she also just knew me and knew my life and was willing to kind of fit into it, which is what I needed. Being as busy as I am, as a mom, as an investor, all of that stuff, I needed someone who could kind of hang with all of me, not someone who was like, I have these 3 goals and you need to deliver them for me and right? But really just be with us in the process. And she proved that she could do that. And it's been the best working relationship I've had really in a long time.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. 10 small wins or 1 big moonshot?
I think it depends on personal or professional. I actually think the 10 small wins get you to the moonshot, because I'm not a believer in like, I want this big goal and I'm going to design this whole process to get there. I'm a big believer in like intuitively feeling it out and kind of going where the energy is. And so that's often about like, what's the next best choice? How does this feel over here? Like, my belief is that if you do that in a way that is brave, you ultimately will get to the moonshot. Economically, of course, you're looking for all moonshots, right? Like, you want everything to be that big returning, so that, you know, every investment we make, has to be able to return the whole fund. But from a process perspective on how to get there, I don't think you go moonshot hunting. I think you go looking for excellence, and that's through these little cycles.
I love that. Because it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, moonshots, They look like they're overnight, but they're very much slow
10 years minimum,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So it's like all moonshots are actually diligent, small choices day in and day out.
Yeah, I love that reframe. Being early or being right?
Being early or being right? I mean, I've chosen to be early because I think if you're right but late, it's like not that interesting to me. I want to be early and right. And so, but if you want to be early and right, you can't start with just being right, because you can never be early, right? So I don't really care about failure. I think this is the difference between venture and PE. Like, PE cares about failure rate, venture doesn't. I care about the opportunity for success. The glass is always half full with me.
It's the optimism business.
Yeah, it's who I am, right? That's just kind of how I am naturally. And so I always want to be early. I always want to be in the dream state. I always want to be with possibility, and I'm okay if it doesn't work. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? To take shots and for them to fail. I'm very comfortable with that.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me a little bit too of like you posting on TikTok as sort of like, I'll just try it. It's early. No one else is here. Could be right, could be wrong, but it's definitely early for sure.
Yeah.
What's the best teacher, a mentor or a mistake?
I don't really think about mistakes. So mentor, I'm all about where are you going? Like, forward looking, where are you going? And it's been very powerful for me to see how people ahead of me show up. But I think mentorship is really a two-way street. It's a dialogue, it's a collaboration, and all of that is very productive for me. Mistakes are like, I've learned from my mistakes, but nowhere as much as I've learned from mentors. I just move on. Like, I just let go and move on, keep going.
It's very refreshing. I think a lot of people dwell, and that's what holds them back from doing great things.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Is the future of AI abundance or chaos? These are loaded questions. I didn't warn you.
Yeah. I mean, chaos, I think. But I don't think that chaos and abundance are diametrically opposed.
Okay.
I think it'll depend a lot on who's in power. And if we continue to have the people in power with AI, we're in trouble. And I think we are in trouble. So abundance is the feminine framing, right? The abundance mentality, the idea that there isn't a finite pie, that there's more than enough to go around, that if I have things to share, I want a crowded table of people to share them with me. That's the abundance mentality. You can have the exact same amount of resources and have abundance or chaos. Chaos is a scarcity mindset. Chaos is the masculine. And I don't mean men, I mean the masculine. It's like, only one can win. There's only so much pie to go around. And ironically, we have people in power around AI who are trying to build an abundant technological world, but they're doing it from a political and personal disposition that is chaotic and scarcity driven. And they don't seem to care about the people who lose their jobs and die in the process. And so I'm very worried about where we are at culturally and politically, not because of AI specifically, but because of the power structure that exists within international politics, within America, and within what appears to be an emergent oligarchy. And I think people who don't believe that are not paying attention or truly don't care.
It's going to be an interesting decade, that's for sure.
It is.
There's a lot unfolding. And I think there's a lot of, I won't even use abundance or chaos, I'll just say like noise and energy around so many changes, political changes, religious changes, technological changes. So it's a very interesting time. We have to make sure we have the right mindset around it. But you're right, there's a lot of energy is how I usually describe it.
Yeah, and I think that like you can meet chaos with abundance. Right? And that looks like community care. It looks like feeding your neighbor. It looks like growing a garden. It looks like all like this kind of abundance way of moving through the world, even in a context of scarcity and competition. I don't think that you meet chaos by saying, oh, well, I'll just get my bag and win. Right? Which I think is a lot of where that fear comes from. I think it needs to be, I lean into my community and care.
And I love this idea of like when all the outside world, international, national, whatever feels crazy, you can focus on the local. It's the garden, it's the neighbor, it's the friends, it's the, the way you show up. Even just here, that's the stuff that we also have the control over. And like, that's a good reminder.
Really predominantly offline. Mm-hmm. Get offline.
Yeah.
Like check on your actual neighbor, knock on their door, bring them a pie. Like this is the time to do that. I actually hosted a neighborhood resiliency potluck last month and just like put a note on the neighbors' doors. I did it at our office. It was a potluck. Everybody came and they were so excited to meet their neighbors. And I became friends with my neighbors. They're like elder lesbians of Bernal Heights. They're so nice. And now my son has a relationship with them. I kind of knew them, but I didn't know the across the street neighbors. They introduced me to them. Like they're watering my plants right now. So like this kind of community resilience, we know that is what predicts safety and resilience in natural disasters. I think that whether that natural disaster is a fire or a flood or a career apocalypse, like that community resilience, I think, is going to be what carries us through, and a willingness to share and care for your neighbor.
And not forgetting what makes us all human. I think that's so much of it. We're all hyper obsessed with technology, but at the end of the day, since the dawn of time, we've been humans talking to humans, and there are very basic needs that science can tell us. Connection, when it's like more powerful, not having connection, loneliness is worse than smoking or something like that. So it's important to remember that.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, 4 more: killer product or loyal niche audience.
Oh, killer product.
Okay.
Yeah, I think killer products find loyal niche audiences and then they grow. Loyal niche audiences without killer products tend to only stay within that niche. And I'm building billion-dollar companies here, so we got to grow, baby.
Love it. VC or bootstrapping?
I'm going to go with seed strapping, which is my favorite, right in the middle. I love, especially now, like you can really do so much with a lean team because of AI. And so I think there's always going to be the opportunity to raise, or invest $1 to $2 million into great people building companies. But they're not necessarily going to need the same amount of downstream capital.
And we don't get diluted.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's good for founders. I think it's good for early stage investors, but you have to make sure that, you're okay to like value your own deals. And, it's just like, it's a different shape of thing, and you're not going to get the markups and all that stuff. But I think that there's really one of the things that's a little bit of an issue right now is we have this kind of glut of capital partnered with technology that should make us more lean. And they're a little bit at odds right now, where people are like building these war chests, but it's not really sure that they need them. Honestly, a lot of it's going to compute, so that's a problem. But I do think that like I'm very interested in lean operating styles that really serve like profitable businesses that throw off a lot of cash, that also have big market opportunities where I don't get diluted. So
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, Bobby's a good example of this, not to like bring it all the way back, but like, an investor friend of mine who was early there was talking about just like the dilution element and how it's actually helped them so much in their portfolio, how they haven't had to raise as much over time. Okay, never post on social media again, or never fundraise another dollar again.
Never post on social media again.
Okay, tell me why.
I love what I do. I love my job. Like
that's primary.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. Like I love being an investor. I feel like how I'm making an impact in the world. Deploying capital to people to build their dreams is like the reason I'm here. That and like stewarding the spirit of my son. Those are the reasons I'm here. So social media, take it or leave it. But like I love what I do. Easy.
Love it. Last question: is AI overhyped or underhyped?
I think it's a bubble. I think it's overvalued. I don't know that the hype is wrong, but I think the valuations are wrong. $100 million seed rounds, that's insane, right? It's just illogical. Illogical behavior is what creates bubble behavior. So the AI technology wave is real. I think the technology promise is real. And I think it is overvalued.
Absolutely. Kate, thanks for being here.
This was so fun. Thank you for having me.
It. Thanks so much for listening to the Trailblazers podcast. If you found this conversation valuable, please follow along on socials, share with a friend, leave a review, all the things. Most of all, please subscribe to our channel. It helps more contrarian builders find us and supports the work we're doing here. To learn more about what we're doing, you can visit trailblazerspod.com or my venture capital firm, parkrangerscap.com, or just follow along on socials at Erica_Wenger. Until next time, keep trailblazing.